What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Content Clubhouse podcast presented by The First Call. I'm Nathan Moore, and this episode features an awesome conversation with Blair Wheeler, Instagram and TikTok's golf dad. We dive into his brand as being a relatable husband, father, golfer in that order, and trying to get out and play once or twice a month if possible, while juggling all the responsibilities of a very busy professional life, as well as being a very present dad for his children, and the challenges of weighing all those things together, and some of the amazing blessings he's got to enjoy as a result of the audience he's built. So without further ado, here's our conversation with Blair. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Content Clubhouse presented by The First Call. Really thrilled to be joined by the golf dad himself, Blair Wheeler. Awesome husband, father, golfer, in that order. Definitely love what you're about, and kind of the brand you're putting out there again is making golf not only super relatable, but really sharing a light into what it's like to, be a dad, something that so many of us, at least speaking for myself, want to be, while also maintaining a pretty active life on the golf course. But for those who aren't as familiar, kind of walk us through the story of Blair Wheeler, what you're trying to do, and the stories you're trying to tell on social media about being a true golf dad.
Yeah, well, Nathan, thank you for having me. I appreciate the time, and always fun to jump on somebody else's podcast and talk a little bit. So talk about me rather than talk about other people. So yeah, it's fun. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I want to tell stories that resonate with the average man, the average dad, the average husband, because that's who I am at the end of the day. Like, there's so many content creators that are out there that are, that's their full-time job. And my co-host on Twosome, DJ Thama, that's his job now. He's a full-time content creator. Kind of moonlights a little bit as a realtor, but realtor is that's not really a job anyways. All the realtors out there, like, kind of understand what I'm talking about. So I still hold like two other jobs on top of like the content creator, influencer, media personality, whatever you want to call me. I still do. I have another consulting business and then run a digital marketing company. So yeah, I'm still just, holding down the fort on that side and trying to tell an authentic, organic story about, hey, like, this is me. I'm still trying to play golf periodically. Yeah, I get a lot of really crazy pinch me moments with the content creator influencer job, but still I'm a normal dude at the end of the day.
Yeah. And we'll definitely jump into, I want to hear all about the new launch of the Twosome podcast. I know you got that started relatively recently, and definitely kind of in your business life off the golf course. But starting with the golf, what was your entry point into the game? I'm assuming you were a golf guy before you were a golf dad. How did you get started? And then how much has that changed since you've added all of these other aspects to your life?
Yeah, I grew up playing golf. I'm from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina originally. So, I mean, if you guys, most people in the golf world know of Myrtle Beach, and God, you throw a rock and you hit a golf course down there. So it's almost like you have to play. My dad played, my grandfather played. My dad passed away when I was 2, so I didn't get to play with him as a kid, but my mom had me in golf lessons and leagues and everything growing up. And I played every sport in addition to golf. So it was just one of the other things I did, on the summertime. In summertimes, we play like summer leagues, rotating around every course in Myrtle Beach. And then ultimately grew up, played high school golf, was the worst person on the team, only played golf because the coach, I was surfing like semi-professionally. I had a sponsor and had sponsors, I guess, and was competing and stuff. And the coach on the golf team, it was the only sport that he was like, hey, like, I'm cool with you, like, bouncing out if you need to go surf or do something else. Like, you're not going to college to play golf. Like, you're here to fill out this roster spot. I think everybody else went to play college golf on that team except for me. So played golf in high school, then went to college, played golf kind of periodically as time would allow. I took a golf course. I went to Coastal Carolina University, where DJ Dustin Johnson went. He was there my freshman year and then ultimately left, and I don't think he finished, but it's neither here nor there.
He's doing all right, though.
He's doing fine. He had a good time while he was there. And so I kind of played golf here and there, took like the golf class as an elective one year, which was fun. Just get to go out and hit balls. And then when I started my career, I just played golf here and there until I met my wife. Her dad is a big golfer. And when I met him, I was like terrible. I'm still not good, but then I was terrible. And I was, shooting like mid to high 90s. A good score was like a 91, 92. And is a single digit handicap. Um, and I was like, I can't let my future father in law beat me. Like, this is not happening. So I just hunkered down, started playing more golf, and then kind of taking off from there. And, it's a major part of my life now. That's really the only hobby I have.
Well, unlike a lot of other golf content creators, of course, there's more than one way to be that, right? So I'm not saying there's one right wrong way, but you've cultivated a voice on your socials that really integrates who you are, your daily life into it. It's not like it's just whole vlogs or other stuff of like just what you're doing on the golf course. You're really letting people into the world of who Blair Wheeler is. Was that a conscious decision? And if so, what was the thinking behind making that choice?
Yeah, my background's in marketing. I worked at Nike for 6 years and ran global sport marketing for them, for their surf division, Hurley. And one of the things that I learned pretty early on in my career was that people want to be a part of a community. People want to, kind of see behind the scenes of whatever they're interested in. And I think that resonates more so now than ever because athletes don't have the pool they used to. You don't have a Michael Jordan out there like selling shoes like he did in the early 90s. Like, you don't have that. You have the Kardashians and you have, influencers who are set, creating brands, selling products, but they're selling products and creating brands with a community built around them, right? Like, and I looked at golf and I was like, hey, like, I think I can do this influencer thing. I think I can do this content thing. I'm going to try it. And there wasn't somebody that was doing that. There was not somebody that's talking directly to a community, um, and especially to one that I was a part of, right? Like, dads and husbands who play golf. Like, and I make it a joke about myself. Like, you know, I'm the butt of the joke a lot of times. Like, oh, I'm going to play golf. My wife's gonna be mad at me. I'm gonna sleep on the couch. I'm gonna shoot. I'm not gonna break 80. Like, all the things, right? Like, there was nobody talking that to that community and making light of that. So I was like, why not just organically speak to you and show what you're doing? People want to see, what your daily life looks like. They want to see like, hey, I'm actually not playing golf today. I'm sitting behind a computer screen. I am, you know, gonna get to play golf one time this month and then document that journey. So that's more realistic. And I feel like that resonates with people more so than, these guys that are out there, YouTubers that are out there playing golf every day. I love watching it. I mean, you look at somebody like Evan Thompson, it's an amazing story, like almost qualifying for the US Open. He's a good friend. But for me, like, I don't get to play that much golf. So I know that's 99% of the golfers out there. They don't get to play every day. So why not, talk to them?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned we had Evan on, one of the first people we talked to on this podcast, and his kind of whole reason for being on the golf content space was like using the content to support his pursuit of like being as good a golfer as he could possibly be from like an amateur standpoint, and then potentially if he got that far, even a pro standpoint. You're clearly not trying to do that. So what kind of is your goal or your pursuit when you're uploading these videos?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we always want to be better, right? Like, at some point, I've joked around with my friends, like, oh yeah, maybe if one of my crypto investments come off, or I get a major deal with one of these brands that, you know, supports me for the year, supports my family for the year, then maybe I could make the mid am, or maybe I could qualify, like, do go through the U.S. Open trials or whatever. Um, will that happen? I don't know, but my goal with this is build the community as big as I can, build the podcast, give people like me and you a voice, talk to the person that gets to play golf once a month, once a week, whatever that is, the everyday guy that's out there just struggling to fit golf in where he can. That's really all I want to do is give them a voice and be the captain of that ship.
Yeah. Well, as part of inviting people in, right? I think you've got probably one of the more positive audiences on social media. Just given because you're a positive guy, what you're sharing is good stuff out there. Like I think, kind of scrolling through and reading from the people who partake in this community that you're building, it's a good vibes place, right? But at the end of the day, too, the internet more often than not is not that. Have you run into any problems or situations where like, ooh, like, do I want to keep putting myself out there in this way? Like being such a family, oriented guy. Do you ever have any kind of concerns? Like, am I oversharing, and is that leaving me open to any kind of vulnerability?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you start getting recognized in public, it gets weird. When I'm by myself and I'm at an event, I'm like at the PJ Tour thing or the PJ Championship, it's cool. And, I'm there and people expect to see me. But when I'm somewhere with my kids and somebody recognize me, I'm like, ooh, like, I don't know if I like this. If you don't notice it, I don't really post my kids a lot. I talk about having kids. I don't say their names. I'm kind of torn because, I have this platform and there's kids that I see that are their parents are like pushing them and building their platforms for them and then handing it off in the future because it could be like some sort of like, digital resume for in the future. Like you don't know. Um, so I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place. Like, am I oversharing? Am I doing a disservice by not sharing more about them and their stuff? But ultimately, like, I've put myself into this like public sphere, but my kids didn't choose to be promoted. My kids and my wife definitely didn't. Like I think she still has a private account. So I'm very cautious about what I share about them, but at the same time, like, you know, I you're between a rock and a hard place. Like you could help them, or you can, overshare and kind of put too much out there. So yeah, it's kind of 50-50 on it.
Yeah, well, it's a really interesting, and I don't even think like that in terms of privacy laws and everything else. Again, nobody's got it figured out really in terms of what is and isn't. I think over the next few decades, when you first have a situation of a kid who, hey, as you said, like did not make that decision as a child, and then 10 years later, now that they can make that decision, what can they do about it or not? It's definitely an interesting and kind of something you got to be mindful of, especially in a world where, again, and I know you don't do it nearly to this extent, but you have a lot of successful creators not in the golf space whose whole thing is like the family thing. Like my kid's face is all over my Instagram, and I'm with you. This is like that opens up some questions. Like it's nobody can know for sure if when that kid is 16 years old, will that be a great thing for them or will it be detrimental? It's just hard to know.
Yeah, it's. I was listening to a podcast with it was one of those big TikTok girls like D'Angelo or Diamino or like one of those girls on TikTok that has like 100 million followers, like literally, close to it. And her dad's her manager, and that's what he was talking about, right? Because they started their TikToks when they were whenever 12 or 13, just doing stupid dance videos, and they kind of escalated to makeup and then product and then lifestyle vlogs, and then now I saw a stat on. I followed the Boardroom account. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's like finance stuff about social media and about marketing. And she was the second or third highest grossing content creator in 2024. Like beat Jake Paul in terms of her take home revenue, and it was something like $300 million. And I was like, well, that'd be nice, but not there yet. So her dad was saying that social media is going to be a digital currency and a digital resume for kids that are growing up right now. And jobs are going to look at it, and their friends are going to look at it, and colleges are going to look at it. And if you can help them in any way get a leg up on, you know, John Smith down the street, then you should. And I totally resonated with that, but at the same time, you don't want to put your kids out there because you never know what kind of weirdos are like lurking on your profile. And honestly, like you mentioned the negative stuff, like I get a ton of negative comments, like people talking about how bad I am at golf, talking about, calling me all kinds of stuff. When I worked with Liv that first year, I got a ton of death threats, um, which was crazy. So I have a screenshot of all these like negative comments. I'm going to do like a negative comment video and a reaction thing in the future. It's on my to-do list. But yeah, you never know who's out there. You never know who's lurking. So it's like, man, you don't want to share too much.
fortunately for you, because you've set yourself up in this way, what you're doing on social media is far from the only thing. Like, you could stop it tomorrow and you've got a lot of other stuff going on. So how are you, you mentioned the podcast that you got going on, but also professionally, the other things that you're doing. As a recently married man, I've had basically every other married man slash, guy with kids has come up to me like, oh, play your golf now, because, you're not going to have time to do it later. You're still finding some time, obviously, but I'm just curious, between being a very present father, which I can't admire you more for, being a, leader in industry and running these other businesses, the podcast and everything, plus the content creation side. How are you juggling all that? And like, your wife must be just an angel.
She is. She's great. She totally understands that like my job's not a normal job, and thankfully these other things that I do, the guys that I work with and the companies that I work with, away from social media, they understand. Like, you know, Monday, this coming Monday, I don't know when this podcast is coming out, but I'm going to Kiowa and I'm doing something with the Panthers, right? The NFL team. So they're like, okay, cool. We understand you're doing this. And then in a few weeks after that, I'm going to Detroit for the Rocket Classic. My people that I work with, they understand that this is my job and it's a very lucrative job. It does, we do well. But then on the flip side, my wife gets it because, you know, her friends have husbands that whatever, they work in pharmaceuticals, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're home every day. They go to an office, they come home, and they go on a couple of golf trips a year. Her friends seem to equate it like, you know, I'm going golfing when I go to this stuff, but she gets it. She's like, hey, I've been to these things with Blair. Like, he is working from the moment he wakes up to the moment he goes to bed, and then doing it again the next day. And it's exhausting. And the hardest part is when you go to this stuff is, you know, when you're on a golf trip with your buddies, you're getting to enjoy the time and have fun, and you're not thinking about anything. When I go to this stuff, yeah, it's fun. I'm going to, you know, whatever, play Kiowa on Monday, but you're always thinking about what should I be doing? What could I be making? What kind of content should come out of this? How can I maximize my time here? And and that's the biggest thing is like when you are setting yourself up in this world, you get a lot of opportunities. I get to play more golf than most, and you know, it's not when I'm at home. Like I played 47 rounds of golf last year, and 7 of them were at home in Wilmington. The rest of them were on the road. So I get to fit my golf in when I'm not here, and then when I'm home, I'm here. And my wife gets to go do her stuff, like whatever. She's into horseback riding and English jumping, right? So she's going to do that, and then I have the kids, right? And then when I'm gone, I'm playing golf. So it's all about balance. And you know, with the work from home schedule, with these jobs that I get to do, getting to play golf during the middle of the week when the kids are not home, that's kind of the only option because I'm not going to take time away from them on the Saturdays and Sundays because that's when you want to be dad, you want to be around, you want to have fun, you want to go do something. So yeah, it's just figuring out like what works for y'all.
Well, that brings up a really interesting point about kind of the work that you're doing, right? Because I think a lot of people who just watch the content have no idea the level of effort and planning that goes into a lot of these things. You know, as somebody who, coming from like a journalistic background, used to cover Georgia football, I graduated from Georgia. I hated covering the football team because it meant that I couldn't go to the tailgate and have fun and enjoy it, right? It meant I was working. Like, when was the last time you really played golf for fun? Is that something that you're still able to do? And maybe that's not even labeling it right, but you get what I mean.
Yeah. Um, I, I, my father-in-law hates when I pull out a camera and do content. So anytime I play with him, like I'm trying to put it away and I'm like, hey, I'm present. Let's play golf today. But that's 3 times a year, 2 or 3 times a year. I played at my club in like January and I didn't do any content that day. So the last time I got out and played was January, and I left my phone in the car. Like I made a conscious effort that day. I was like, I called my wife and I was like, hey, like if you need me, you're gonna have to call Travis. You're gonna have to call somebody else because I'm leaving the phone in the car. I don't even need to be tempted. So, but like that's because when you're out there and you have the phone, like I said, you want to think about what you can do and what content you can make, and you want to like you want to be productive because if you stop doing content, if you stop making it, then the whole trajectory that you're on stops too. It's like a hamster wheel. You just have to keep going and it never stops. Um, but you still want to be present. You still want to enjoy it. So it, it's hard. But that said, every time I get to go play, like this is not me bitching about like going to play Kiowa on Monday or going to Stream Song in a few weeks or going to Detroit. Like that's not it. It's just a different job. It's you know, and this is what it is. And on the Georgia football note, go Gamecocks.
Okay, well, we'll make sure that part's edited out. Don't worry about that. But I am bummed that we don't play every year anymore. Frustrating with the new format. So because
Yeah, I don't like it
always
either.
enjoyed my trips to what is the hottest place on God's green earth, Columbia, South Carolina. So
I would agree.
good times. But yeah, I mean, again, I think that's a really interesting, perspective on that too, just in terms of, yeah, like the absolute knuckleheads who will hear this be like, oh yeah, like he is complaining about like what does he have to complain about? Has an awesome job. But again, whether you're working and it's same thing kind of doing, covering football. Like, oh, you get to watch Georgia football and get paid to do it. It's like, well, technically, yeah, but like you anything's gonna be a job at the end of the day. If it is something you're working to do, is going to be a job, and there are going to be times where it does feel like a job. Nobody like, maybe like Scott Van Pelt or like Reese Davis, host of College Game Day, maybe they truly love their job every single second of every day, maybe. But I bet if you got an honest answer from even those guys, they'd say, yeah, there's parts of this that suck or that are hard. But it's the moments like Kiowa, like the Rocket Mortgage Classic, from a work perspective anyway, that I imagine really make it worth it. So before we get you out of here, we'd love to just hear some really cool. I know you do a lot of stuff at Quail Hollow for like PGA and for the other events that are kind of in your area. What are some of the pinch me moments, as you mentioned earlier when we started chatting?
Yeah. So when I started out doing social media, I never thought that I'd make the friends that I've made. You know, PJ Tour players, people like Gary Player, Scott Stallings. Um, it, they're like a text away. Now, like I text Scott or FaceTime Scott, and he'd answer. Like I think that that's the craziest thing for me that I've made these friends that are you never thought you'd be able to make or have the access that you'd be able to have. Like some of the pinch me moments that like have meant the most are when I'm able to take my wife or take my father-in-law or like uh, do something with a loved one that they never would have thought. Like I took my wife to Kiowa and we stayed in the ocean course villas right on the ocean course, and you, you know that's like a $5,000 a night situation. Like I'm not paying that. Like we're gonna go stay at the hotel and budget this out a little better. Getting to do that and having the access is constantly something I'm like, whoa, you need to take a step back. You need to realize this is not an everyday situation. You're not Lindsey Graham or any of these politicians or any of these people or athletes or whomever, celebrities. You're none of these people that are doing this every day. So, you know, take a step back and remember how blessed you are and how good you have it. Um, but yeah, I mean, some of the things that I get to do, man, it's unreal, and I'm constantly pitching myself. Getting to go into the clubhouse at Quail Hollow, which Quail Hollow's a super exclusive club in Charlotte, right? Getting to go in there and have ice cream with freaking, John Rahm. Like, not everybody gets to do that. Or getting to go out into the live events and play in the pro-ams that first year and becoming friends with Cam Smith. Like, it's crazy. So, yeah, it's a crazy roller coaster, and I'm just really, like I said, I'm blessed that I can do it, but it's you got to keep on that hamster wheel to keep it rolling.
Yeah. Golf can take you to some cool places. Well, you mentioned Gary Player really quickly. Great kind of chance to give you a moment to talk about the Twosome podcast. Give us the lowdown and what folks can expect to look forward to coming up.
Yeah, so Twosome is hosted by myself and another content creator and dad, DJ Thama. He does a lot of cooking content. He's a great cook. I unfortunately am not. I didn't get that gene handed down to me. So yeah, he's a great cook. He's a great dad. He's based out of Naples, Florida. We host it. It's a weekly show. The whole goal is to give us a platform to have more long form conversations and talk to people like Scott, talk to people like Gary Player or Ben Baller or Bubba Watson, and talk about, what it's like being a dad. What are the struggles that you've had being a dad on tour? We don't want to be another PJ Tour recap podcast talking about, who's going to win the US Open next week. We do that a little bit, just kind of the daily banter, like, oh, how'd you play last week? Two friends catching up. Um, but really, it's a podcast to talk about, the struggles of being a father, being a husband, and kind of the success stories. And hopefully, somebody that's listening can gain a little bit of knowledge or inspiration on stuff they can do to be a little better.
Definitely encourage people to check that out. And again, thanks so much, Blair, for taking some time to come on this one. Again, for those listening, can check him out on Instagram and TikTok at Blair Wheeler. Check out the Twosome podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And again, be easy, my man, and good luck to your Gamecocks this fall.
Thanks, man.